Hi. Earlier today, you talked about the difference between motivation and inspiration, and you said that motivation is a construct we are no longer in need of. And I love that. And it felt so freeing, and that what I'm doing is so perfect in this moment. And I was wondering if you could just say more words around that because it felt so good.
Well, it's pretty simple. If you're just literally paying attention to what feels better to you, then inspiration arises organically. It arises naturally, and that is literally the thought that feels better. That's your intuition, inspiration. It's all the exact same word. It's all the same thing. Mm-hmm. What that takes into account is the fullness of what you are creating, the fullness of what you are about. And it does not try to figure out or fix or change or manipulate anything, because you're the one who is creating all of this. So changing and fixing and manipulating are things that you do if you're feeling powerless, to paint it with a broad brush. When you're in alignment with yourself and you're really allowing yourself to have what you actually want, what ends up happening is you have precisely placed right in front of you exactly the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, whether it's a thought, a word, or an action. If you were coming from a place of powerlessness and you were trying to motivate yourself, it will work for a while. But it's a tool. And so when we were talking about what the motivational journey is, the motivational path, well, it's the one that's logical. It's the one that can deduct next steps based upon knowledge. It's wise, but it's not natural. It's not organic to you. It's perfect for baking cakes, as we say, or building steamships. It's perfect because you can figure out how many rivets you need if you know how big the steamship is and how you're going to construct it. And you know how much flour you need if you're going to bake a cake. And so you put it all together. It's chemistry or it's engineering, and it has logical steps. The only problem has ever been when you realize deductively that what has happened is you now know how to bake a cake. Oh, everything in life should be like baking cake. I can solve all of my problems by figuring out what to do and motivating myself to get there. So you make a plan. And in the plan, there's the action steps, and you follow the action steps. The only problem is that, of course, as you're doing this, you're pushing against yourself because you're trying to get reality to conform to your powerlessness motivation, which is what this is all about, instead of allowing reality to carry you, in other words, reality, the combination of your thoughts in physical terms, to carry you on the wave of inspiration that leads you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. When you really do begin to understand that you have constructed all of this and it all is to your benefit and it's all helping you, then it really does, as you were saying, it really no longer makes any sense to try to motivate yourself to ever do anything, because what would that really be for? All that motivation actually does is it just pushes you. But what it pushes you against is you. So it gets progressively harder and harder and harder. But inspiration gets easier and easier and easier. And also, while motivation has to be concocted, it has to be drawn up, it has to be laid out, it has to be delivered, inspiration is always present. It's always there, and it's always calling you. It is always calling you. So, we like very much that you have asked us to speak more about this, because it is a very favorite subject of ours, and even though we're using slightly different language, and it's a little bit more structured than we normally say it, It just simply does come back down to the exact same thing that we always say about everything. Find the thought that feels better. And that thought that feels better, unlike a motivational plan, knows everything about what is next, not just one particular part. So, are you complete with what you brought to the table?
Yes, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Indeed, and we thank you. Such a very powerful and delicious conversation indeed.